Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video. This is for the Scrap 5 hop, and I actually got to pick the things for this month. So if you know me or my style, you probably could have said what the things I picked were. I chose vellum, either Nuvo drops or enamel dots. Stitching, you could have done hand stitching, machine stitching, faux stitching. I wanted that to be something that everybody could do no matter what kind of supplies you had. I wanted you to pull in a doily and I wanted you to do some hand journaling. So between those 5 things, I thought that was something that everyone could pretty easily pull together. Some of the things I feel like not everyone likes to use, or maybe it's stash that you haven't used in a while. So I really wanted to challenge you guys to get all 5 things on a page. So I was really excited about this one. You also saw a page map sketch in the beginning of this video. That is a sketch from Tiara's Winter Inspiration series for their sketch challenge. However, this is not my entry for their sketch challenge. I have a different layout that I entered for their sketch challenge entry. This is for the off the page challenge, in which we needed to create a project that was not 12 by 12. We could have done a card, a traveler's notebook spread, anything like that, even a different formatted scrapbook page. So I chose to do an 8.5 by 11 page, which is why I chose to go ahead and do this 8.5 by 11 sketch, because I have had requests since doing that page maps. I cannot talk today. Holy moly. That page maps hop a couple months ago, in which I created my first ever 8.5 by 11. I know there are some people who only scrapbook 8.5 by 11, and you don't get a whole lot of representation on YouTube. I feel like most people are 12 by 12 scrapbookers. So I thought this was a great opportunity to do another 8.5 by 11. Because I am a 12 by 12 scrapbooker, you will see at the end, I do end up having to mat this on a 12 by 12 to go in my album, because obviously I only have 12 by 12 albums, so you'll see that. And that is also a great way, if you like 8.5 by 11 sketches, you can always stretch them out to be a 12 by 12 sketch, but you could do it literally. You could create an 8.5 by 11 layout like I'm doing here, and then just mat it on a 12 by 12 before you put it in the album. And that's a really good way to use those sketches as well. So you can see my little doodled version of that sketch to the left there, as well as my scrap 5 items. So I'm just going to go ahead and follow the sketch pretty literally. I have this paper kit from Heidi Swap. I can't remember which collection this is. But I just really like the colors in it. I liked the mint and the pink with the grays, so those are the colors I'm trying to pull in. These are a bunch of different little photos I have from my past Hawaii vacation. So if you guys had followed me on, I think it was Instagram, I posted to my story every day, and it always started off with a shot of my coffee and my view. And I told you I had a scrapbook page in mind, so I did just want to make a scrapbook page about my morning routine while we were here. I pretty much rolled out of bed, grabbed a cup of coffee, and went out to the beach or somewhere. Each one of these pictures, there's something different in the background, which I also wanted to point out was that, no matter which way I was looking or what my scenery was or what I was doing that morning, it kind of started off the same way with a cup of coffee. So that's kind of what I'm starting with. I'm just following this sketch pretty literally to begin with. I don't think I've pulled in any of my scrap 5 things at first. I was really just trying to get the basics of this sketch down before I really started going off and pulling different things in. So yeah, I'm using a little scallopy border punch there to create that same element that is on the sketch. And I mentioned this the last time we had a Tiara inspiration series. Unless there's a challenge that specifically says you can double dip, you can't enter one layout to more than one challenge at a time. So like I said, this is my off the page challenge entry. Even though I am also doing a sketch, I'm not entering this in the sketch challenge. So you can definitely pull inspiration from multiple challenges. Just make sure if it's not for a specific double dipping challenge that you only enter it in one of them. Again, I will link their Facebook group in the description. I really love all the different challenges that go on. Seasonally, we have just a whole bunch of extra challenges. Usually there's just one challenge a month, so it doesn't get too overwhelming, but I really have a lot of fun when we have all these extra extra challenges, and there's lots of different types of challenges, so there's something for everyone. But I did need a circular element, so I just did use my little circle die from We Are Memory Keepers to create a little circular piece like it was in the sketch. I thought about making that a doily like I usually do when I see a circular element. But I thought, like, part of me was like, yes, I picked a lot of things for this Scrap 5 that I feel very comfortable using and I love pulling in on my pages. But at the same time, I was like, it's got to be more of a challenge for me. If I'm going to use these things that I'm very comfortable with, I want to use them in a different way than I initially would want to do. So instead of just using a doily as that circular element, I decided to do this die cut circle and pull a doily in a different way. Same with my stitching. I'm going to stitch in a different way than I usually do. So you'll see it as it comes together. And even here, I'm pulling in scraps of vellum. Usually I probably would have used vellum to do that punched border strip, but instead I'm using it to map my photos with. So everything that I'm pulling in that I picked, that I feel comfortable with, I'm just trying to use differently than I usually would, so it's still challenging. And I really like how these little vellum photo mats look. Everything on this page is very simple, very soft, and I really like how clean it looks. That's what Marcus always uses to describe pages like this. He really likes this kind of clean aesthetic. So I really think that the photo mats in vellum kind of lends itself to that. So I'm just trying to measure everything, make sure my photo mats are all the same size. I'm trying really hard to use scraps for these photo mats so I don't have to cut into a new sheet, and I had just enough. So that was super convenient. Again, just matching up all the pictures next to each other to make sure they're the same size. And then I also did want to mention the sketch only had three pictures, as you can see in my little doodle drawing, or you saw in the beginning of the video. But I do have 4 that I want to include, so I'm just going to add one more photo to the bottom of this sketch to accommodate for that, so I can get all the photos that I want to use on here. So I'm just going to glue those all down really quick once I get the sizing right. So yeah, there was one photo I ended up not using because it was very similar to the bottom photo that I ended up using. I didn't think I needed both of them. But the 4 photos I did end up using, the backgrounds are all very different and kind of remind me of a different morning. So it was important to me to get all of the different ones on here. So I'll go through them kind of once they're matted and on the page, what was in each photo or what was happening that day. So I think they're all trimmed down. I really just need to lay out this the photos and get this layout glued down because everything's just loose and wobbling around, so I need to get things glued pretty soon here. So I'm starting with that banner and that circle. I just want to make sure proportionally it's the same as it is in the sketch. So I like how it looks right there. So I'm trying to just keep everything in place while I do this. So I measured that circle against the ledger paper. I loved picking this ledger paper for my background. I thought, one, it would be really easy because I know I need to do some journaling, and that means I already have lines. But it also makes it easy when I'm trying to line up all these different pieces for a sketch because I can see where they lined up against the background ledger, and that helped me keep it in place where I wanted to put it initially. So that was super convenient. But I'm going to get all of this glued down, and I think the next thing I'm going to do is stitching. I'm not sure. But as I get going, you'll see me start crossing off of that Scrap 5 list. That's a really good way to do these challenges, just to have your list of stuff on the side, and then as you use it, tick it off so you don't forget anything. So there I go, cross that vellum. I got one of my 5 things down. Now I'm pulling in doilies. There's the doily I originally thought about using as that circular element. A part of me thought about pulling up that circle and putting the doily behind it still, but again, that kind of was going off of what I wanted to do, like my knee-jerk reaction, and I just wanted to do something different. So I decided to go with the smaller doily too, and I sped this part up a ton. This is the stitching portion. I'm just doing a simple back stitch around the edge of the circle. I usually like to stitch in either black or white. I don't really stitch in color that often, so again, trying to push myself a little bit since it is my own challenge, I decided to stitch in color. So I just found a pink that was very similar to the pink already in my page, and I'm stitching in a color. And then not only am I stitching in a circle that I don't often do, I'm going to stitch a different way on this page as well. I don't think I do that just yet, but that's one portion of my stitching done. I got stitching on there. I'm going to go ahead and cross it off, but like I said, I'll go back in and stitch something else later on. But I have my doily down. I like using that as an embellishment piece instead of using it as a layering piece like I was planning on doing. So I got my doily there. And then my title will come off of that just like it is in the sketch. I have these Mila foam stickers from Felicity Jane, and I thought the Moments was just pretty. I wanted something white and soft, and I knew I was going to have hand journaling on here, obviously because it's in the sketch, but it's also part of my challenge. So I knew I would explain what was going on in these photos, but they're kind of self-explanatory. It's a bunch of different mornings with a bunch of different cups of coffee. So I thought the Moments was just an easy, pretty soft title. And then I also pulled in some Gina embellishments from Felicity Jane that was left over after I used that paper collection. So I have some chipboard harps I'm thinking about using. They have some pink and green ones that go really well with this paper. So those are what I'm looking at right now. I also had the Mila die cut set I really wanted to pull in. I think they're so cute, but the tones were just different. The green in the Mila collection is very olivey and not this like minty green. So I ended up not going with those. I do pull in one of the light pink embellishments. And I thought about using these gold glittery ones, which I do like how that looks. I think that looks really cool, and I definitely could have gone that way with this glittery gold. But I just didn't feel like pulling in any metallics on this page for whatever reason. So I ended up going back to the Gina chipboard hearts instead of these Mila glittery ones. But I'm kind of stuck what to do at this point. I really like the idea of having a heart up by the title on the doily and one down on the bottom photo. But I'm not sure quite what to do. So I kind of switched gears and pull out my enamel dots. I brought like 4 packets out, I think, of Freckled Fawn enamel dots because again, my knee-jerk reaction was to go to my white Nouveau drops. But again, just trying to push myself to do something different than I would initially, I went with enamel dots instead. So I'll pull those in a minute. Here's that little pink banner from the Mila collection. I am going to pair with a little chipboard heart down on the bottom photo. I think that looks really cute. I don't think I use anything else from the Mila collection, but I thought that soft pink banner complemented the light pink heart that's at the top of the page. And I also like how this mint heart that's layered over that pink banner replicates that green circle from the top of the page, just so colors are balancing, and I really like how that looks. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down these hearts. I thought about pulling in this gray chipboard heart as well that you see, because in the back of my mind, excuse me, I'm thinking I'm going to mat at the end this on a gray pattern paper, because there's a couple gray pattern papers that came in this collection. So in the back of my head, I'm thinking I need some gray on this page, because in the end it's going to be matted on a gray piece of paper. So even though what you are seeing is white and pink and green, I definitely want to pull some gray in so that it makes sense once it's on the final page going in my album. So I pull out some enamel dots. I'm thinking about going with one of these greens or one of these pinks. But I decided not to use the gray chipboard heart and instead go with gray enamel dots. So you saw me take the gray chipboard heart off, and now I'm putting these gray enamel dots on. And right now it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but once it's on its final layout to go in my page, having the gray on the page to go with the background makes it look a lot more balanced. So I like that, and it's a little bit different again than what I initially thought I would do, so I like that aspect as well. But other than this, the page is pretty much done. I really need to get my journaling down. So I will go back in with my thread. I'm actually going to stitch my journaling lines. I didn't really have to because I had this ledger background. But I liked the idea, considering you can really see the journaling on that sketch, about having visible lines. So, and I also wanted to pull this pink thread into a different area just so that was balanced around the page as well. So I think pulling this pink thread into a different part of the page looks really nice. It also kind of helps square up this photo grid, by creating something a little bit more solid in that open space, and I really like that. So I'm going to stitch my journal lines really quick and then do my journaling. Now that my photos are down, I'll kind of go through the list. So the one that's by itself, the upper right and the lower left hand cup of coffee, I'm standing in the same spot, but I'm looking in different directions. So the one on the top, I'm looking inland, so you can see mountains and a bunch of trees, and the one on the bottom I'm facing the ocean. So I liked that kind of showed from the same spot my two different views, and they're both really, really pretty. That's on Oahu, Hawaii, in my brother's condo place. So that's where those two are from. The middle photo where you can see an album in the background is when I filmed an album flip for a Christmas or birthday gift idea. That's on my channel as well. It's in the playlist for album flips. So that was the morning that I filmed that for you guys. And then the upper left hand photo, that is a different cup of coffee. That is because that was on Maui. We spent one night in Maui to do a couple different things. And so that was just my cup of coffee from a different island. All the other ones were on Oahu. So I just wanted to mention that. And now I'm trying to find a pen to do my journaling in. I really wanted to do my journaling in a gray, again, to pull that color in from the background and tie into the enamel dots. But I do not have a gray pen. All of them have died. So I really need to go get another gray pen. I did have one gray pen, but it was just too light. So now I'm going between a couple different greens. I thought since my thread was pink, I would do my journaling in green just to tie in with the color scheme. Eventually I find one, it's called, what is it called? I think it's called something wasabi, I think. But I'll just read my journaling really quick. It says, my morning started the same no matter what we were doing that day. I can't get over each and every view I experienced. So I'm going to do that really quick. And once again, I was watching Fixer Upper and they were talking about installing a unit of something. And I wrote unit on my page instead of view when I said each and every view. So there's a little typo and I just went over it with the right word. And again, this is going in my album, so that's not going to bother me too much. I would have been really upset if this was a page for somebody else, but I just have to giggle at myself when that happens when I'm listening to something on TV and I end up writing it down. But here is that background page I'm going to end up matting this photo on. I'm trying to play around with which side of the page I want it on, but I end up mounting it on the left side. So here's the original 8.5 by 11. This is what is going in the entry for the challenge, and then this is what's going in my album here when I matted it on a 12 by 12. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to play along with Scrap 5, make sure you use the hashtag so we can find you. And if you want to play along with Mercy Tiara's challenge, I will leave that in the description as well. Thank you guys so much for watching, and make sure you check out everyone else who is playing along with the Scrap 5 challenge. Thank you guys so much. Bye.